I do not believe by making satire on the internet commits a crime by any means. And
Okay, so
be going back.
this is a huge revelation. So you were actually doing satire. So were you trying to wake up Americans to the truth, or were you just doing satire? Which is it?
A bit of both.
There is something deeply wrong with what you did.
I do not believe so. And if anything,
Well, you're morally bankrupt. Do what you want.
I am not morally bankrupt. And
most YouTubers wouldn't comment here and capture this because of political stuff. You know what? I don't care. We're out here, baby. Like and subscribe.
All right, well, considering how much attention this Nick Shirley guy has been receiving recently, this felt like the perfect moment to examine just how serious of a journalist he is. Because in the past, he's straight up admitted that his work is a joke.
Hello, we'd like to ask where the money's going.
And you know, I think that video that he put out was so popular because people are getting better at understanding when they're being lied to and knowing how to connect the dots for themselves. There's this increasing sense that we don't really need a medium like CNN as long as we're willing to use our own brains.
How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
But the problem is, if you're going to follow someone who's moving fast, that person has to be a good faith actor. So is Nick Shirley the next generation of investigative journalist, or is he a performance artist? Let's go back to that interview and try to find out.
Nick Shirley came here to Ukraine and produced one of the most egregious pieces of propaganda I've seen since the start of this war. His video undermining the war and showing that apparent taxpayers' money is being wasted on luxury cars here has amassed millions of views, hundreds of thousands of comments, and it's been shared by some of the Kremlin's biggest mouthpieces. They said that they took you to a hospital that was bombed. Having seen all of that, why is it that you decided for your first report to be about the luxury of Kyiv and Americans' tax dollars being wasted?
yeah, it's a good question. Quite frankly, I'm still putting together the documentary I had. That was a clip I filmed just walking around while I was in Kyiv. And I do believe that here in the United States, there's a lot of misconceptions as far as where tax dollars are being sent. And we have the right to understand where things are going.
So he made this rage bait content that implies that the war basically isn't real and that people in the Ukraine are getting rich with American taxpayer money. But he eventually admits that this wasn't serious. Yet he still frames it like it's a public service that he's offering people. And he feels justified in doing this because in his mind, this is just how the internet works.
You're basically telling me you uploaded that video because you wanted to show the world that life carries on as normal in Ukraine. But you didn't say that in the caption or the description of the video on TikTok, Instagram, or Twitter that you uploaded. So why are you only giving me this context, and why didn't you include that in the tweets?
As you know how the internet works, a one-liner often goes a lot farther than paragraphs.
Yeah, but you made that a one-liner.
Yeah, I know.
So you're saying, I know how the internet works, but you're actually contributing to that.
As far as what?
That really proves how he's completely naive to the damage that he's doing. He can't even comprehend the idea that saying that's just how it works isn't always an excuse. That idea just completely goes over Nick's head. And honestly, his ignorance is probably why he's so successful. He can do morally bankrupt things and not even realize it. I mean, how else could you justify hiring people to pretend to be pro-Biden migrants and then getting caught over it and just moving on? And I know that he really believes that he's justified in doing this, because look at how he responds when someone actually calls him out.
Pulling silly faces, smirking at the people of this country, saying, this is where your tax dollars are going. You cannot avoid that. That is literally what you did. Everybody agrees. Everybody in the comments agrees. That's what you were doing. Why can't you admit that?
Because I do not believe by making satire on the internet commits a crime by any means. And
Okay, so
be going back.
this is a huge revelation. So you were actually doing satire.
In that post,
So it was satire.
is there anything wrong with satire?
Okay, so you're telling me now that this was a joke and it's satire and this wasn't your actual reporting. This wasn't you being a journalist.
What do you mean?
Well, you were being satirical, right? You were joking. You're saying that this tweet was satire. The original report that you put out on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter was satire.
That was the first video I put out, and if you continue to follow me and watch the videos that will be coming out, you will very much see
No, I've
more
seen the
in-depth.
backtracking, but why didn't you make it clear that it was satire?
Isn't that very obvious that it's clear that it's satire?
No, because it's been
Especially-
retweeted and amplified by pro-Russian accounts that are very serious accounts, and actually it's
I don't even know who
undermining
those
the war here.
accounts are.
Look at how confused he is there. Like, he's literally about to cry.
I don't even know who those
Undermining the war
accounts are.
And even admitting that some of his work is satire, I mean, that really goes to show how little he's thinking this through. And you might be tempted to think that Shirley is playing some type of 4D chess with everyone, where he's choosing ignorance and stupidity as a way to shield himself. But no, he's really just that dumb.
So 2 days ago, Romy Bank commented on your Instagram video saying, "Go East Ukraine. That's the real Ukraine. It's beautiful and wild, but being bombed." And you replied saying, "I visited East Ukraine as well. I will show you in the coming days." Where did you go in East Ukraine?
I went to, isn't Bucha East Ukraine? Or I went somewhere where there was Bucha?
So Bucha is a 20-minute drive north of Kyiv. Where did you go in East Ukraine?
That's where I went. I went to Bucha. Is that not east of Ukraine?
God. It makes me despair that you've come here, you don't even know the difference between East Ukraine and somewhere that's a 20-minute drive north of Kyiv.
And so here he was just completely caught off guard. He really had no idea that East Ukraine was 300 miles away from Kyiv, which in a war zone is a massive difference. Well, come to think of it, that's a massive difference in any zone, and you would think, with this being a war, and people's lives being on the line, that would be enough to get Nick Shirley to care about authenticity, at least for a little bit. But that's not how it works for him. We've seen the same thing with the conflict in Venezuela, where the day after it happened, he was spreading propaganda, mislabeling videos, claiming that it was people in Venezuela celebrating. These Venezuela posts that he put out, he probably genuinely believed in, just like he genuinely believed that East Ukraine was 20 minutes out of Kyiv. And after people called him out for the propaganda, he basically said it was close enough and moved on. And like with everything Nick Shirley does, there's probably an ounce of truth to what he's alluding to. But he's gotten real comfortable weaponizing that ounce of truth and using it to manipulate how people feel. If the rest of the world isn't calling him out for it, Nick Shirley just says whatever he wants and he keeps winning, using his unlimited confidence and very limited information.
There is something deeply wrong with what you did.
I do not believe so. And if anything,
Well, you're morally bankrupt. Do what you want.
I am
But
not
this
morally
is simply
bankrupt.
that You have put out basically Russian propaganda, and
No.
I'm just trying to figure out whether you were paid by the
I'm
Russians
not.
or whether you were just used by them.
I'm not. And for you to say that is very dangerous for my life and for the life of my family. So I would really appreciate if you would retract those claims because they are 100% false. I'm 100% independent. I pay for everything on my own, and I have no ties with any Russian.
Sure. I think the people that are actually in danger right now, the people whose lives are in danger, are the people in this country from the Russians who are sharing your video. So good luck with that.
Being hit with reality really makes Shirley squirm in his seat. When all else fails, he just plays the victim card. And he's been humiliating himself in these more recent interviews too. So I guess we'll cover that next. See you then, Shirley.